Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Explosive leaked recordings of Texas Senator Ted Cruz have gone viral, exposing private fury at President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff strategy and naming key figures blocking progress on a major trade agreement with India. In these secret audio clips, nearly 10 minutes long, captured during closed-door donor meetings and phone calls in early to mid-2025, Senator Cruz pulls no punches. He mocks and ridicules Trump's sweeping tariffs, warning wealthy Republican donors that they could devastate the U.S. economy. Skyrocketing prices, plunging 401s by as much as 30%, and even risking a political bloodbath for the GOP in the 2026 midterms or worse, impeachment-level fallout. Cruz also describes a heated late-night call with Trump and other senators where he voiced his disgust over the tariffs, only for President to reportedly yell and curse back. With tensions boiling over at the heart of the revelations, the India-US trade deal remaining stuck on the table. Cruz claims he's been actively battling the White House to get it across the finish line. The fallout will turmoil in Republican circles, with some donors and party insiders reportedly furious at Cruz for airing dirty laundry privately. Yet it underscores growing pushback against the tariff-heavy approach, even as the administration holds firm. Joining us live is Ambassador Manju Seth, former diplomat. We also have Major General Sudhakarji, geopolitical expert, live with us. Sumit Peer, political commentator, joins us live. Adit Kothari, foreign affairs expert, is also with us live on the broadcast. Let me bring you in here first. Ambassador Seth, on these revelations, what do you make of these leaked audio tapes of Ted Cruz?
I think two things it reveals. One is the divisions within the Republican Party. I think there are divisions there. And the unhappiness of a large section of the Republicans in the government and the general public. Everyone is now beginning to be really unhappy. And it also reveals of course, the internal divisions, as I said. It also reveals the fact that it is, the way that the delays have taken place and the way that it's been, it's been put on the back burner, so to speak, by the White House. It is clearly indicative of the thinking of President Trump and his close associates, including, and by their statements we could make out, they are over the last few months we could see, one day statement by J.D. Vance, one day by President Trump, one day by his, his dissent. Everybody and Navarro, all making, absurd statements and very, very disrespectful kind of statements against India. So it was quite clear that there was an attempt to delay this as much as possible and put as much pressure on India to agree to their terms and conditions. So I think that was these are the two things that I see. And the fact that they've come out, and of course it is a Republican source, obviously, who has leaked this audio, So it is something that is not the norm. It should not be the norm, So there is a lot of internal rivalries, and the fact that Tom Cruise he has always been saying that India is important, and he's been promoting this trade deal. And now that this has happened, he has gone out in a private. He shouldn't have done it. I agree. From one point of view, because he's part of the Republican Party, he's part of the close to the president. But the fact that he has come out with it shows his frustration and his sheer helplessness at the way things are panning out, and it's affecting their future, likely the Republicans' future in the upcoming elections, midterm elections. And I think all these things are impacting the Republican Party members, senators, and other House members against and making them think as to what is to be done with President Trump's approach, the way he has gone about targeting India, but at the same time, we can see he's also being conciliatory on one hand, and then he's very negative the next moment. I don't know what he's up to, but it is something which is not good for the overall relationship also, because it's created a trust deficit to some extent. And so this trade deal, when it does come through, and first of all, of course, they have to lift the punitive tariffs that they put on India. I think that is a very important thing that has to be done first for this trade deal to move any further.
That leads us to the question then, Major Sudhakarji, who doesn't want this trade deal to go through? Who is sabotaging it? What is leading to this stalemate continuing then? Major Sudhakarji.
Yeah, Uday, I hope I'm audible. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to participate in your show, and compliments to very esteemed and distinguished co-panelists. Each of them, they deserve to have the last say on the subject, but allow me to dilate if you have time. First and foremost thing is USA, no matter what name we call it by, it is still a power, a superpower or global power. It may be a declining power, but still it is a global power. No global power worth its name would like to lose its supremacy and authority. And we have the historian, Greek historian called as Thucydide, who actually forecasted this long, long back that no established or accomplished power will ever allow a rising power to come anywhere close to its footing. So, if we have understood this logic, then what is happening in America, whether J.D. Vance or Navarro or Donald Trump, any one of them doing such kind of schemes against India is actually nothing different or nothing unusual. So I must, with due respect to Manju ma'am, because I regard her a lot, she is a very expert and accomplished diplomat. Although I personally feel that here is a turning point in America. The turning point is there is somebody from Republicans who has stood up and brought the truth to the limelight. I admire, my respect for America as a superpower or a declining power has actually gone up manifold. Had this not happened, perhaps I would have said that Donald Trump and all these guys, they are digging their own grave. More the pressure, more the negativity against India they create, more they actually deeper they dig in their, the grave. So I would admire Tom Cruise for having brought out the point. Had he not done it, perhaps I would have said that a person who speaks out the truth is the person who means good for the nation. He needs to be respected, and that is how I actually admire and place democracy and the value of rules-based international order higher than individual personalities like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and whoever, Navarro and all these names. That is one part. Second part I wish to bring out is, it is not me who is saying this. It is a book called as Monsoon, Indian Ocean, The Future of American Power. This is a research document converted into a book by Dr. Robert Kaplan. We must, all of us, those of us who would talk about geopolitics and the international relations must speak this. There are very, very huge criticism about the book. But the fact of the matter, this book is bringing out that the 21st century will witness that the entire global order will be overtaken by geoeconomics. In geoeconomics, the commercial basket of the world order will gravitate towards Indian Ocean, in the Indian Ocean, which is the country, which is predominating by virtue of its geostrategic importance. It is India. India is the country which has got more than 500 million. To be precise, it is around 576 million people
Yes.
in our who have the no, Uday, please hear me out, otherwise don't invite me next time.
Yes.
This is very important. This must be understood. 576 million people, Indians, have the capacity to buy more than $12 a day. They have the capacity to expend more than $12 a day, and China is around 787 million people. By 2035, India is going to overtake. So what does it indicate? Today we are 4.19 trillion US dollar economy. We are looking ahead for 30 trillion US dollar economy, notwithstanding all the pressures, all the tariffs that have been imposed on against India.
Absolutely.
India is posted. Just one more line. If you want to conduct the discussion the way you wish to, you are welcome.
No, please complete. I need to get in the others as well. But I'll allow you to complete. I'll allow you to complete. I'll allow you 10 seconds to complete. Please go ahead. Complete your point.
I'm saying that it is not India's century. It is not Asia's century. It is India's century. It is already in a bright spot.
Yes.
We need to get going ahead, regardless of all the pressures.
Absolutely. And the timing is very crucial. The timing is very crucial, Sumit Peer, because the fact is this comes at a time when there has been this increased protectionism from the West as well. that is coming out, against not just India but many countries, which is why Ted Cruz's revelations, of course, tell us a lot about what is actually happening in the United States of America. Now, he's an insider. This is not any outsider. This is an insider that is speaking out and speaking up. It does tell us a lot about what is happening within, and tell us, but tell the rest of the world as well. It also possibly will tell the EU representatives who are in India as we speak and who are also not very happy with the White House. Sumit.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on your show. A good question to begin with. Look, what we are looking at is a revelation which has come out there because, look, when we look at the trade deal, it was going as an alternate curve. Ho gaya nahi hua nahi hua. It was all happening and breaking. Now, possibly what Ted Cruz is trying to say, there were three people here, JD Vance, Navarro, and they were influencing also at times Trump, and they were scuttling the deal due to one reason or another. For Trump, it's very easy. If he gets the impression it's not my deal, it's not my way, it's not how he planned it, I'm not going to get credit for it, he'll just let it go. Now, for JD Vance, it is also believed there was this Carl Tuckerson in the background who has built him, who has made him, and he has a lot of influence on his decision making. He wanted him to be seen as that macho American nationalist who is stopping this India to get through, and he's the one who's protecting the American interests. So, for his long term political gain, he can be playing this game. Navarro had spent prison, good time of few months in prison for all the kind of crazy violations he has done in his life. So Navarro was the person who was just creating the hawks and saying, I'm the protection of the American and American values. Now, Ted Cruz, I don't know, did he leak this video, or if you look at the timing, 2028 is on the run. He will be going for the presidential race, and then he's positioning himself. I'm the globalist. I'm the one who's for India. I'm the one who's opened the economy. I'm not like Trump who's trying to scuttle the things. I'm not, definitely not the person like that. Now, if you look, everybody has an interest, and there's one point we are all forgetting. India-US trade deal is going to happen. Aaj, kal, parso, whenever it will happen. Nobody can stop it. Now, the question is, there is one country in the world with which the trade deal is not even being talked about. That's called People's Republic of China. Now, if we think China will just let our trade deal happen, want India and America, India and America to come together, want India and American tech to come together, want Indian and American trade to get together, because that changes the geopolitical balance and geo-economical balance in trade, in military, in commerce, in man-to-man contact. And that is what the Beijing will not like to have. For example, today, Mark Carney had to come on and say, I am not doing a BTA with China, and on the same day, you have the Canadian External Affairs Minister reaching out to Dr. Jaishankar saying, sir, we want to complete our FTA with you. Now, that is how the things have changed. Now, we don't know who was creating this dissonance. Why was Tuckerson trying to influence his mind? Who was behind the scenes? Who was paying whom? Which lobbyist? Which ideas? Which designation was engineered? Because this deal upsets a lot of things, and the power equation within the globe will change, because India is the only country who has very good relations with Russia and is going to have very good relations with America, with or without Trump. Now, the person who's odd man out is China. And look at the national strategy document of America. What does it say? Don't fight China, but do everything to contain China. And today there's a big revelation. The topmost general of PLA, Zhang Ziyue, has been selling nuclear secrets to Americans, to CIA. If that is true, the chief of the staff of China is gone. His two deputies are gone. They have been gone missing. Now, if that kind of things is true, do you think China will let this deal happen? Do you think they will want to have us a cakewalk? So they were creating these dissonance. At least you can't stop it, delay it, put a spanner, delay it more, create that dissonance, make it an ego issue. But what did India beautifully do? Prime Minister Modi never made it an ego issue. Prime Minister Modi and India never reverted in the same coin. We were not doing tit for tat. We were maintaining it very diplomatically, very calmly, and moving it along. Now, today, America knows they want a deal more than us, because yesterday, Goransky went to meet Dr. Jaishankar in 2:30 in the afternoon. He went to meet Piyush Goyal with a bipartisan delegation. Why is he doing that? Because he wants to say, look, this is what I get to the table. And 24 hours before that, Scott Bessent says this Russian tariff must go because India has substantially stopped buying Russian oil. Now look at the American signals. Now they are racing against the time to get this trade deal done. Whoever was the player, let JD Vance and Peter Navarro answer whose influence, why they were influenced, and what exactly was the objective.
Adit Kothari, come in here, because obviously there should be a statement, a clarification that should come out. If the president and vice president have been named as scuttling this deal, then surely they owe India an explanation. Surely they owe the US constituents an explanation as well. Will that explanation come in? What do you make of these revelations, and what impact are they going to have?
I think from Ted Cruz's perspective, the tapes explicitly time that the tariffs will have some sort of an impact and risk midterms for the Republicans. During the first term of Trump, there were tariffs imposed on countries, including India. But those tariffs at that point were mitigated with other factors. At this point, there are no other factors. In Trump's first term, it was estimated by economists that his tariffs had constituted to about $1,000 spending in an average family's household expenditure. This time, it is calculated to be more than $2,300 at an annual level. So that sort of spending that is going to be imposed at an average family expenditure, it will have some sort of ramifications in the midterms, which I think there are voices within the Republican Party which have now started to call out. They see this sort of protectionist policy, using tariffs as a strategic tool, as not only harmful for U.S. relations with its strategic partners, but also with its electorate. And that is why I think, out of frustration, people like Ted Cruz are now coming out. They basically washing the dirty laundry out in the public. That will have some consequence. Now, since the rift is actually out in the open, the onus is quite truly on Peter Navarro and JD Vance, whether they want to mitigate it internally or whether they want to come out with some sort of public statement. But having said that, the damage is already done. China is already walking all over, America's, the vacuum that has been left over by America. And we saw that in Davos as well. At venues like Davos, China's contrasting expose, their stance, which is coming up as a responsible superpower, was in contrast to US's contrasting image of, trying to say that, we are uncertain, we have our own way. So if you follow our way, then, we can play ball together. Otherwise, no. So, all of those kind of things are leaving all of the strategic allies in a bit of a lurch, and which is what actually expedited the EU-India deal as well. So that was the whole premise of, why a deal which has been ongoing since 2007, suddenly found, wheels on the ground. Because they all want to mitigate this particular Trump madness at this point, Uday.
Yes. Now let me go back across to you, Ambassador Seth. What impact is this going to have on the Republican Party's prospects in the upcoming midterms, also on Donald Trump's way of functioning as well, and his equations with others in the Conservative Party?
I think because, of course, it will affect Republicans' chances in the upcoming elections, midterm elections, to some extent. But to what extent, we can't be sure. But it will definitely impact it, and they might well lose the majority in the Senate. But we can't say at the moment, because things might change by then again. As we have seen, President Trump, he's back and forth on everything, going back and forth on everything. Every time. So and at the moment, his approval ratings have gone down, but still President Trump is still popular in his constituency, at least in his support base. There's still a lot of support for him, despite what is happening, and despite all these voices and these rifts coming in within the Republican Party. He still enjoys some degree of support, but that may well change, because the tariffs that are being imposed, the cost of the tariffs is being borne by the importers in the US and by the people. It's, mainly, of course, the exporters from other countries, including from India, are affected because their business is going down, their orders are being, cancelled. But within America, within the US, there is a lot of dissonance, as was mentioned, taking place, and a lot of frustration with the way things are going. He's not addressing the core issues that are confronting general public, including jobs, including unemployment and wages and inflation. He's not addressing those core issues, and all he says is that the U.S. Treasury has got so much money out of their tariffs. So I think all that is creating a kind of frustration with President Trump. But I don't think, at least as of now, in the short term at least, I don't see his popularity dissipating completely within the party because of the fact, the hold that he enjoys and the power that he has built for himself and the circle that he has around him. And, but of course, as they say, as authoritarian, the more authoritarian you become, the more difficult it will be for you to see reality. And your people around you will guide you in a way that you think is, what you are doing is right. They're sort of boosting his ego. And he has a very transactional and egoistic approach to most things. So, and personal, he feels it's a personal insult or a personal achievement. So I think that is the reason that he will continue for some time, but I think it will impact his presidency as we go
Absolutely.
forward.
Let me take that to you, Major Sudhakarji, on of course, whether this is going to lead to any sort of change, any sort of shake-up, or is that extremely unlikely in the way the White House is functioning currently, vis-a-vis India, vis-a-vis the rest of the world?
Absolutely. Spot on. I must compliment you for the question that you have raised and given me a chance to speak. It's not the issue what Donald Trump or J.D. Vance or Navarro is actually trying to steer the world order. Everything done in the superpower will have willy-nilly direct and indirect impact in all the countries in the world. Therefore, the world body, we all together must stand up. So like he was talking about Greenland, I'm glad and proud that the European countries, they got together, they stood up to the challenge. This is the time the whole world must stand up, notwithstanding the consequences and the repercussions. When are you in 21st century talking about rules-based international order? Here is one man who is worse than China, worse than any kind of authoritarian rule. What are you talking of double talks and all? There is no point having a discussion unless it takes the world order into a meaningful, logical takeaway, substantive takeaway. The time has come, let me remind, from 1897 to 1901, let me remind Donald Trump, let me remind J.D. Vance, let me remind Navarro. From 1897 to 1901, there was a president called as McKinley Williams. He developed a strategy to utilize the tariff for meeting the federal budget. What happened? In 1901, he was assassinated. What happened to in 70s? You talk about whoever was the president, I'm forgetting his name. And during that period also, he also was heading for in the same direction. Talk about George Bush, talk about Reagan. All of them tried out, and Reagan has gone totally, absolutely public in making a statement that tariff is not a double-edged, but it is a single-edged weapon. It comes heavily on the customers of USA. So under these circumstances, he is digging his own grave. May God bless him with some introspection. The world order has to wake up. All of us have to speak in one language that this is not on by a superpower in 21st century. Enough is enough. Put a stop to this nonsense and bring some sanity to his logical deductions and steering the governance of the world order. Otherwise, we are wasting our time in such kind of beautiful channels that NewsX is providing. Back to you, Uday.
All right. Let me leave the last word to Sumit Peer before we take a break. 30 seconds.
Uday, the reality of the world is that whenever there are powerful people in the world who are economically powerful and militarily powerful, they tend to set their terms and they become the new normal of the world. If you're a country like India who can defend, who can hold, you hold. If you're a country like Venezuela who cannot hold, good luck to you. And if you're somebody like Greenland, I will love to see how much a France or a UK or a Germany will exactly go and fight United States of America. Well, I can tell you right now that day will never ever come. How much hard we might try, it's never. They will all chicken out and they will all live peacefully and they will all live with it, and they will be trying to cut their sideway deals and see how they can please the Trump. Look, Trump has backed out on UK a bit. Now you see what the European Union is doing here. After 20 years, they came here because today they feel they need India much more. They were the same people who had written off India. They were the same people who are writing till 90, how and when they will India fail. In 2013, before Modi ji took over, how many books were published that India will fail in next 5 years? Fragile, file and all. What exactly changed? Because your stature increased, your power increased, your presence increased, and that is why world comes to you. Only power and prosperity is the way to ensure peace. If you don't have power and prosperity, peace will not come knocking at your door, sir.
Okay. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us. We've run totally out of time. Let's slip into a very short break. Much more coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.